Today, I'm here to break down a mystery. The mystery of why the heck I'm so addicted to Splatoon's Salmon Run. My favorite games are ones with deep, thoughtful stories. Games where I can make decisions that affect the world and its characters. A deep solo experience that I can get lost in. Huge, open worlds with things to do and a decent variety in the gameplay. Games like Red Dead Redemption, the Mass Effect trilogy, Horizon Zero Dawn. You know what Salmon Run has? None of that. No, you are doing the same thing over and over again, and you have to rely on other strangers online with a limited number of stages that you do not get to explore. And yet, I have over 300 hours in such a game. No other time in my life have I even consistently played a co-op game. I maybe dabbled in Overwatch when it first came out, but I played no more than a couple matches in it. Normally I get bored doing the same thing over and over and over again, or overwhelmed that there's too much to learn, or I lack any sense of camaraderie with my team. I just kind of feel like I'm pulling everyone down because I don't know how to play. I just have no hunger to put in the time to get good. So today I want to explore what exactly Salmon Run is doing that is working for me, because I'm looking at the facts here and it does not make any sense. So let's figure this out. Alright guys, let's lay down a foundation here. So what is Splatoon, and then what is Salmon Run? So Splatoon is just an online shooter multiplayer game, but instead of just shooting your regular old bullets, you're shooting paint. And so your paint, you drench someone, they die, but you can also paint the ground, which allows you to move to different places, move faster, and also, in a normal game of Splatoon, you're trying to just turf war, cover as much of the stage as you can to beat the other team. For Salmon Run, we keep the online aspect and the cooperative aspect. We have 4 little squid kids working together, but instead of going against an opposing team of other people online, you're going against CPU hordes of angry killer fish baddies. And the goal is that we have 3 waves, and each wave, players must collect enough golden eggs by defeating bosses to reach a quota. So we've got small, medium, little generic salmon fish running around, and you know, they're gonna try to smack you, you just shoot them normally, and they die. But we've also got these huge, over-the-top boss salmon fish, and they each have their own way of moving around the stage, doing damage to you, but also getting killed. They each have very specific weak points that you must get to destroy them. So the general flow for Salmon Run is that we're going to work together to defeat fish, grab eggs, and then toss them in a basket. If we get enough eggs, then we win. And of course, the better you do, the higher your rank gets. So if things feel too easy when you're starting, every successful round you have, you bump up a little higher and higher, and before you know it, you're deep in a chaotic zone, fish smacking you left and right, and you don't know what to do, which means you might go down if you continue to lose. Now, why do I like Salmon Run? I think the first fundamental thing I like about it is that it really scratches this itch to multitask. There is always something to do, and you're never really sitting around. You should be killing fish, taking eggs back, cleaning up pathways. You might be killing a fish and then you're gonna clean the ground for a second, and then you're gonna jump over and grab an egg, and then you're gonna make a ramp so that you can get back to the basket, drop that egg off, and what do you know? There's a couple more bosses, you're killing them. I think once you figure out how the game works, it has a very intuitive flow to it so that you're always running around just trying to manage the chaos. And I think an interesting twist is that you don't get to pick your weapon. Salmon Run has 4 set weapons per every time interval, and within the game, we rotate who has what weapons. So with 3 waves, you're gonna get to try 3 different weapons. So you always have to be trying new things, especially at the start. And of course, there is still pain in getting a weapon that you hate or that sucks. I'm looking at you, Bamboozler. Not every weapon is amazing, but I think most of them, I'll even say 75% of them, are good, if not more. And so I think for the most part, the weapon loadouts just help you from forcing yourself to play the same thing over and over and over again. There actually is a lot of joy in finding a new weapon that you otherwise would have never tried. One last tool that you get is that each round you get one special. There's a couple different ones to pick from. You might have one that shoots laser beams around to kill bosses, another one where you ride a dolphin to go fast and then explode, one where you get to jump into this cool giant crab robot. You only get to use them twice per round, so you have to be really strategic about, okay, we are as a team in a bad spot, I'm gonna pull out a super weapon to get us back on track. There really is no better feeling than saving your entire crew, taking out a horde of enemies, and allowing your team to get back on track. You just feel like such a god. The game is good about giving you strong tools, and I think a lot of fun of Salmon Run is learning how to use them and then using them together with a crew and feeling that success. And I can't believe I'm saying this as somebody who never plays multiplayer games, but I actually think a lot of the joy of Salmon Run is the joy of working in a good crew. Just so fun to be covering somebody's back, or you help somebody kill a boss. You're having some people work to grab all the eggs, some people maybe go out and kill bosses. Being able to work so well with people with really no sense of communication other than the little booyah that you can give, it feels so good. And there is such a rush of coming out of what feels like a war zone, defeating so many fish, just barely getting enough eggs in the basket, and then having that victory where you're just like, dude, I don't know who you are, random stranger on the internet, but you are my brother. I actually have felt that before, where if we play enough rounds together and we're really just kicking tons of booty, I'll just feel so ecstatic. And you'll do the little squid jumping around all together as a team, which is also such a dopamine hit. It's just so fun. When you have a good team, it feels so good. But I think that's something that Salmon Run also does well, is that the rounds are never long. They're maybe 5 minutes. And so, if you do end up on a crew that's bad, you're never with them for too long. It's very easy to lose a game, get it over with, and then jump out of a queue, jump back in, and before you know it, you're back in there. They did a really good job of minimizing wait times, and for the most part, it's really easy to play a lot of games in succession. So I think one of the things Salmon Run does really well is it has a great amount of boss variety. We have a bunch of bosses that will come to the center towards the basket where you and your little squid buddies are. There's the Slammin' Lid, where you tease it to come down and then you can jump on its head to destroy it. There's this Flipper Flopper Dolphin little guy where you can paint its circle and then it falls down and then you can shoot it. There's Steelheads that have a weak point that comes and goes, but if you miss their weak point, they throw a bomb that does a ton of damage. So you're always trying to manage the center and keep your core base good to go so people can bring back eggs easily. But if all the bosses just came to you, the game would be a little too simple. So Nintendo very smartly has some bosses that will only stay on the outskirts, where the fish spawn. We have enemies like the Big Shot, which drop in cannonballs and cause huge little waves of damage to spurt out all over the stage. There's these Stinger Towers that are giant and shoot a laser that follows people and does a ton of damage. And then the bane of everybody's existence, Flyfish. These little guys, I have to imagine it's everybody's least favorite boss. They are so annoying. They essentially shoot out a bunch of missiles that auto-target everyone. To kill them is also pretty annoying. You have to toss one of your bombs into their little boxes and then cause it to fall apart when it explodes. They'll just zoom around the stage and you have to be really vigilant because one flyfish, maybe you can run around and dodge the missiles. But once there's 2, 3, God forbid 4 on stage, you will not be able to escape the madness raining down on you and you will almost certainly lose. And so a lot of the joy of Salmon Run is that you alone cannot take out everything. You must work together to take out all these different bosses in different ways, and depending on the weapon loadout, you're sometimes going to have weapons that are better against some bosses. So if I have the sniper, I'm maybe staying in the center and taking out bigger things like the steelheads to make sure that they don't overrun the base. But if I have a generic gun that can do anything, maybe I'm the one who goes out to the outskirts and takes out these towers and flyfish and keeps them from raining down chaos on us. While Salmon Run does not have that many different stages, the stages they do have each have their own little strategy and movement options that make them feel unique from each other. I think Sockeye Station is the most classic stage. We have a giant center tower that sprawls upwards to allow for great high up shooting spots, but sure, you can kill everything from up there, but you have to head down the mountain and even navigate around the mountain to get the eggs into the basket. Gone Fishin' Hydro Plant is another classic one. It has a very square shape to it that allows you to really easily jump from zone to zone, but also has these alleyways that allow enemies to kind of reach the center. I feel like that one is all about being able to get out, kill the bosses, and making sure that the alleyways never get too clogged up. Otherwise, it's very difficult to bring the eggs back to the center. One of the funkier new stages is Marooner's Bay, which is this really cool shipwreck that has its basket set way in the back, far away from any of the fish spawning points. You also have these wacky elevators that you can paint to go up and down, but it takes a lot of work to navigate out to where the bosses are spawning, and of course, a lot of work to bring those eggs back. So a lot of times, you'll kind of wait towards the basket and then let the bosses come to you. But if you wait too much, you're just gonna have tons of enemies way out there that are gonna do a ton of damage from a distance that then make it really hard to stay alive. And so one extra aspect that allows the stages to feel more dynamic is that we have different tides. We have normal tide, high tide, and low tide. Normal tide is, as it sounds, your standard medium amount of space. It's your most basic sense of the game. High tide is where things can get really crazy really fast. The waters rise, so you have way less stage space to work with, and the fish are spawning very close to you, so it's very hard to run away. If you aren't taking things out quickly, you're gonna immediately get overrun. But it's also really easy to get the eggs to the basket. Low tide is a complete swap from that. You have tons of space, it's easy to navigate and run away from baddies, but also have to go way out into the boonies to kill some bosses. And if you die, it's gonna take forever to come back. It also means that it's gonna take a long time for eggs to make their way all the way to the basket unless you allow for bosses to get really close. So to sum it all up, Salmon Run is all about juggling enemy management with getting eggs back to reach your goal quota. Especially at higher difficulties, you must trust and work together with your crew. When you get through a war zone with them and you manage to just squeak by and get enough eggs, the feeling that you get, the crazy bond you form with these strangers that you can really only say booyah to, it's just such a rush for me. The game has enough variety that it never gets stale, but this is important, it's also consistent enough that things are never random. Your skill and the skill of your crew are what allow you to succeed. That consistency of bosses means that over time you can really learn a lot of niche ways to play more optimally. So let's say you can take out a steelhead by having a salmon lid drop from above it. You can recognize the headlamp of these little maw bosses and you can throw a bomb at it before it pops up and eats you. I think that because the game is so consistent, it means that you're never at the whims of random things making you lose. When you lose, it's usually because either you messed up or somebody on your team messed up. And something that really allows Salmon Run to stand out from especially any other Nintendo game is the difficulty options that they have. The game is not afraid to really punish players, and I feel like it's so rare that Nintendo does something like that, and that I enjoy it. I think that because the rounds are so short, it never feels too bad to lose, and you can always drop rank enough times if you get continuously beaten and get back to a space that feels more your level. And even if losing a lot makes you feel bad, there isn't really that much on the line. I feel like I really just play for the love of the game. And when I win, I always feel such a sense of accomplishment and camaraderie with my team. So there you have it. I never would have guessed Salmon Run would be something I enjoy so deeply. In a way, it's taken me back to being a kid, trying to get good at Smash Bros, playing it over and over again, trying to figure out the best way to get better, just for the love of the game. As I've gotten older, I sometimes find myself going through the motions with games I love, mindlessly following quest markers, failing to take in the game's world, and doing stuff mostly just to check a box. But it has felt really good to break my standard gaming sessions and do something different and fresh. If you haven't played Salmon Run and any of this has sounded interesting to you, totally give it a try. And of course, like and subscribe. Each one means so much to me. And yeah, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Doodle out.